of succession.
Many will be vying for the position.
They've never seen your face before, have they?
Blood. Secrets. Betrayals. Episode 9 of Blood of My Blood did not hold back, and yet, the shadows it left behind are darker than ever. With the finale just around the corner, every decision feels like a ticking time bomb, every alliance like a knife hidden behind the back. And the trailer for episode 10 only sharpens that blade. Episode may 9th not have given us the explosive closure we were craving, but it laid down a trail of fire that is about to ignite in the finale. Let's start with the heartbreak at the center of it all, Brian and Ellen. Many of us expected Brian to be the one to end things, especially after Mrs. Fitz's ominous warning that if he truly loved Ellen, he would let her go. But what we got was the exact opposite. Ellen, with trembling resolve, broke his heart to pieces. And here's where the story twists the knife deeper. She didn't end things because the love wasn't real, but because she was cornered by forces much bigger than herself. You could almost feel Brian's soul crack when he confessed his love, not once, but twice, only to be met with silence. The pain was raw, and the humiliation doubled when his father struck him down in front of everyone. That scene wasn't just about violence. It was about the crushing weight of legacy, the unbearable expectations of a father who sees his son as nothing more than weak. But what made it even more powerful was Brian's reaction. Instead of collapsing, instead of surrendering, he turned his grief into determination. And in the trailer for episode 10, we see just how far that determination will push him, because he's not walking away. He's planning to steal Ellen back, right from the jaws of her wedding to Malcolm Grant. But let's talk about the betrayal hanging in the air. Duval whispering into Colum's ear, revealing Ellen's forbidden love with Brian. Wasn't shocking, but it was devastating. Colum has always been calculating, but here we saw a glimpse of something colder, something ruthless. His promise to Ellen was carefully worded, chilling in its precision. I promise I will not hurt him, or see him being hurt, from this moment onward. On the surface, it sounds merciful. But hidden between the words is a cruel truth. Brian's death had already been set in motion before that promise ever left Colum's lips. That's not just manipulation. That's the kind of cruelty that stains a soul. Which leaves us wondering, is there any chance of redemption left for Colum or Duval? Or are they both too far gone, consumed by ambition and fear? And then, we have Julia and Henry. Their story should have been the shining flame of this episode, but it flickered instead of burning. After so long apart, their reunion carried weight, yes, but where was the awe, the disbelief, the raw terror of two people who had literally slipped through time? The silence about time travel felt deafening. How do you not talk about the impossible? About being ripped from one century into another? Still, this silence feels intentional, like a quiet setup for something much larger. Because in the trailer, the pieces begin to fall into place. The stones at In Recess are calling, but the path back home is not as simple as walking into the circle. We know they traveled through time with the help of Jules, but Julia and Henry seem unaware of that detail. And that ignorance will cost them dearly. Can you imagine the desperation when they realize the portal won't open? When every heartbeat tells them they're trapped in a century that does not belong to them. That's the looming shadow hanging over their heads in episode 10, and it's enough to make your chest tighten. But episode 9 wasn't just about love and despair. It was about foreshadowing a storm. Malcolm Grant is pushing for the wedding without delay, eager to seal his bond with Ellen. And the trailer wastes no time confirming that this wedding will be the battlefield where all stories collide. Ellen, dressed in blue instead of white, stands on the edge of a future she does not want. Julia, clutching William, runs for her life, screaming for help. Henry, desperate, waits for her at the meeting point, not knowing if fate, or betrayal, will let her arrive. And Brian, with Myrta at his side, prepares for the kind of reckless rescue that legends are written about. Think about that for a second. Brian, a man beaten by his father, abandoned by Ellen, betrayed by those around him, still refuses to let go. He risks everything, not for power, not for pride, but for love. And that's where the suspense cuts deepest. Because in a world built on betrayal, love might be the most dangerous weapon of all. The trailer teases flashes of chaos, men hunting Brian, Archbug and others on horseback, Simon Fraser lurking in the shadows for Julia. And then, Malcolm's uncle, with that chilling warning, "There will be a price paid in blood." That line alone sends shivers. Whose blood will stain the finale? Brian's? Ellen's? Julia's? Or will it be the enemies who've been pulling strings from the dark? Episode 9 gave us the heartbreak. Episode 10 promises the reckoning. And the only certainty is this: no one walks away untouched. The trailer for episode 10 isn't just a preview, it's a warning. Every frame feels heavy with secrets about to burst open. And one of the most gripping threads is Brian's alliance with Mert. Let's be honest, Brian has been standing almost entirely alone, abandoned by family, rejected by the woman he loves, and hunted by unseen enemies. But now, in his darkest hour, Merta steps out of the shadows to stand by him. The words he speaks, "This is the kind of love I've seen written in legends," don't just mark forgiveness. They ignite something bigger. They turn Brian's desperate plan into a mission fueled by loyalty and brotherhood. Together, Brian and Merta aren't just two men. They're a storm, and their target is Castle Leo. Imagine the tension as Brian moves closer to Ellen's wedding. Every corner of that castle holds eyes watching, whispers spreading, danger waiting. And yet, Brian dares to plot an abduction, not with an army, but with faith. Faith that Merta's blade will not falter, faith that Ellen's heart still beats for him, and faith that fate will bend to his courage. This is the kind of storytelling that lures us in because we know the odds are impossible. But in shows like Blood of My Blood, it's the impossible moments that leave scars on our memory. Meanwhile, Julia's storyline is unraveling into something far more sinister. We see her running with William, her voice breaking as she screams for help. At first glance, it feels like desperation. But could it also be strategy? Think back to the man who murdered the minister, Colum's merciless right hand. His shadow looms again in this trailer, and Julia's scream could be bait. Could she be luring him into a trap, giving Henry the chance to strike? If that's true, then Julia has stepped into a dangerous role, not just as a victim of time travel, but as a player willing to risk everything to carve a path home. But here lies the cruel twist. We know the brothel worker overheard Henry and Julia's plan. Her heart is chained to Henry, and jealousy burns in her veins. With Simon Fraser in her ear, the perfect betrayal is within reach. Think about it. Henry waits at the meeting point, clinging to hope, while Julia runs through the night, chased and cornered. And just when they are steps away from reunion, betrayal could rip them apart. That's the kind of heartbreak the finale is preparing us for. Not the gentle sadness of episode 9, but the brutal, world-shattering cruelty of destiny turning its back. And then there's Malcolm Grant. The man many of us don't hate, but perhaps should. He's been kind, gentle, and patient with Ellen, and it's impossible not to feel sympathy for him. Yet, in this world, kindness can be dangerous. It blinds him to the truth that Ellen's heart belongs elsewhere, that the vows he waits for will be born of chains, not love. The trailer shows his rage boiling over, his face twisted with betrayal once he learns his bride has fled. And behind him, his uncle's words thunder like judgment. There will be a price paid in blood. But whose blood? The runaway bride's? The reckless suitors? Or Malcolm's own, punished for daring to believe in love too deeply? One moment that struck me most in the trailer was Mrs. Fitz making the sign of the cross. It's a fleeting image, but it carries weight. Was it a prayer of protection, a desperate plea for Ellen's safety? Or was it mourning, a sign that she knew tragedy was already unfolding? Mrs. Fitz has always stood as a quiet guardian, a figure who sees more than she speaks. If she plays even a small role in Ellen's escape, it could be the turning point of the finale. But if her prayer was for mercy, it might already be too late. The visual of Ellen in her blue dress also lingers in my mind. It's striking, yes, but also symbolic. Blue is not the color of purity or joy. It's the color of sorrow, the shade of skies before a storm. That dress tells us this is no celebration. This is a cage. And watching Ellen walk toward Malcolm in blue feels like watching a flame suffocate underwater. The beauty of the scene hides the tragedy beneath, but the most chilling thread is the hunt. Men on horseback, swords drawn, searching the wilderness. Archbug, with his cold determination, seems to lead them. The trailer cuts to Henry hiding behind a wall, his breath shallow, his future dangling by a thread. At the same time, Julia's cries echo, William clutched tight against her chest. And Simon Fraser? He is waiting, his gaze sharp, his intentions cloaked in smoke. The finale is positioning itself as a chase, a race between love and betrayal, between freedom and capture, and let's not forget the enemies still trailing Brian. Those who sought his blood in episode 9 are not finished. Whether it's Colum's orders or another hand pulling the strings, their pursuit adds another layer of peril. Brian is not only risking his life to save Ellen, he's doing it while death dogs his every step. One mistake, one hesitation, and his body could be left broken long before he reaches her. That's what makes episode 10 so electrifying. The finale isn't promising us a single battle. It's promising us many. Brian versus the men sent to kill him, Julia versus time and betrayal, Henry versus the shadows closing in, Ellen versus her fate at the altar, and Malcolm versus the truth that love cannot be forced. These stories are colliding, intertwining, pulling tighter and tighter like a noose. And when the rope snaps, blood will spill to S.O. Ask yourself this: who will pay the price? The innocent, the guilty, or both? The trailer doesn't give us answers. It only sharpens the suspense, daring us to look closer, to guess, to fear. Episode 9 hurt us with heartbreak. Episode 10 is preparing to break us completely. The power of a finale lies not just in what it shows, but in what it makes us fear. And Blood of My Blood episode 10, titled Something Borrowed, is shaping up to be the kind of finale that doesn't just end a season, it carves itself into memory. Episode 9 gave us broken hearts, shattered promises, and the faint glow of rebellion. But now, in episode 10, all the pieces we've followed begin to collide. Every choice has consequences, every secret demands a price, and every character is standing on the edge of a storm. Let's look again at the threads tightening. Brian's journey is a descent into fire. With Ellen trapped in a forced wedding and enemies lurking in every shadow, his decision to snatch her from Castle Leo is more than reckless. It's suicidal. And yet, it's also inevitable. Because Brian's story isn't about survival. It's about defiance. This is a man who has been told all his life that he is weak, worthless, and doomed to fail. But by storming the gates of destiny itself to reclaim the woman he loves, he declares to the world that he will not be broken. That kind of defiance never comes without sacrifice. Which leaves the haunting question, will Brian's love save him, or will it be the very thing that destroys him? And then there is Ellen, the bride draped in sorrowful blue. Every glance, every breath, screams of a woman caught between duty and desire. She knows the weight of her family's decisions. She knows the danger that Brian faces, and yet she walks toward the altar. But make no mistake, Ellen is not a passive victim. She is calculating, watching, waiting for the moment when choice might return to her hands. Will she flee with Brian when he comes for her? Or will her fear, her loyalty, or perhaps her guilt toward Malcolm keep her bound to the vows? That single decision could change everything, not just for her, but for everyone around her. Julia and Henry's story, meanwhile, runs parallel but no less desperate. They stand on the brink of a second loss, a second separation, this time not by centuries, but by betrayal. The brothel workers' secret knowledge, Simon Fraser's watchful eye, and the relentless hunters racing through the woods all tighten the noose around them. Julia's courage shines as she runs, clutching William, her voice echoing with cries for help. But courage alone may not be enough. The finale teases us with images of near escapes, of Henry waiting in vain, of Julia screaming into the night. And hanging over it all is the cruel twist of time travel itself. The stones are there, silent and ancient. The path home glimmers just beyond reach. But without the jewels, without the knowledge of what truly powers the portal, Julia and Henry may find themselves staring at salvation that will never open. The agony of being so close, yet impossibly far, is the kind of heartbreak this show thrives on. And let's not forget the larger forces moving in the shadows. Colum's promise, already tainted with blood, lingers like a curse. Dual's betrayal festers like poison. Malcolm's Uncle thunders of blood debt, and the Jacobite cause whispers behind closed doors. These forces are bigger than any single character. They are storms, and our beloved characters are caught in their path. Which raises the chilling possibility that the finale won't just hurt our heroes individually. It may set into motion a wave of destruction that shapes the entire future of this story. The trailer teases one final image that stays with me. Faces twisted with shock, voices raised in chaos, and blood promised as payment. Someone will fall. Someone will bleed. And someone will lose everything they've fought for. That's not speculation. That's the truth the show is screaming at us through every frame. The only mystery is who? Brian, Ellen, Julia, Henry, Malcolm, Colum. Each of them is standing on a knife's edge. And when the blade cuts, it won't be clean. It will scar, it will burn, it will change everything. So, what do we take from all of this? Episode 9 left us wounded, but Episode 10 is preparing to shatter us. Brian's desperate love, Ellen's impossible choice, Julia and Henry's fragile hope, Malcolm's crumbling heart. None of these threads will escape unscathed. And while we can theorize, while we can analyze every line of dialogue and every frame of the trailer, the truth is this. The finale is designed to break us. To make us scream, to make us weep, to make us hold our breath until the final second fades to black. Blood will be spilled. Love will be tested. And by the time the credits roll on Episode 10, nothing will be the same. Now, I turn it to you. Who do you think will pay the price in the finale? Will Brian fall in his reckless pursuit of love? Will Julia and Henry be trapped in the wrong century forever? Will Ellen choose duty over her heart? Or will Malcolm, kind and noble, become the true victim of this cruel web? Share your theories, your fears, and your hopes, because this is the calm before the storm, and together, we're about to face the fire.